Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the In Her Element series. Today, we are looking at financial freedom for women. We have two amazing speakers here today joining us. One is a financial expert who is helping lots of people, especially women, around handling their finances and gaining financial freedom. She is a certified money coach, and we are so excited to learn from her today. And we also have Karen, who is a property investor in the UK. We also are excited to learn about, some of the ways of growing our money and becoming more financial freedom, rather free. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us tonight. Maybe take a moment to say hi to our viewers today. Karen, I'll start with you.
Hi everyone. It's so good to be here with you all. I'm excited for I'm excited for our conversation.
Thank you, Karen.
Oh,
Karen, can you hear us?
Oh, hiya. Hi everyone. Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Oh, okay.
yes.
So, um, so am I just saying hi to everyone? Hi
Yes, yes.
everyone. I'm Karen. and I'm so excited to be here to share about property, and yeah, hopefully we can all learn a few things about becoming financially free.
Okay.
So yeah, excited.
All right, so I think maybe a good starting point for our conversation, just before we get into, practical tools and strategies to grow money to become, free financially as women, women of color in particular. I think it's imperative that we start unpacking some of the mindsets that we hold that are holding us back, because I believe that at this day and age, most of us are exposed to so much information around money, growing our finances and all of those things. But what is this thing, or what are these mindsets holding us back? Regardless of the fact that we have learned so much, we've read so many books, what are the psychologies around money that we still have and hold on to that are holding us back? Karen, would you start answering with that one?
Okay, so I'm going to talk from the perspective of property, and what I normally find. I'm just going to tell a quick story. So in my education in like the property investing, one of the ladies I was speaking to was telling me that she's not good with numbers, and I realized when I was speaking to her that this is not just her unique situation. This is something that a lot of women are stops them from moving forward with investing or doing property because they're worried about risking money because they don't know the numbers, and numbers are important when you're going to be investing in property.
Mhm.
And the some of the things that stop us as well also come from, the things that we've got outside of investing. We've got our lives, I should putting other people first, s- feeling like you need to know everything
Mhm.
before you start. And I think that's what holds a lot of women back. And the problem is because we have these beliefs, they stop us from moving forward. And I think if we begin to get ourselves educated and around people that inspire us and show us that it is possible, being around other women who have gotten into the space that you want. So for me, for property, being around other women who are doing property helps show me that yes, okay, it is possible, it can be done. And sometimes hearing how other people have started as well, that's also impacted on my journey within the property space as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think some of these beliefs, we carry them as facts, but they're not. They're just things that we need to realize that, okay, if we change the way that we think about, say, the numbers,
Mhm.
about investing, we can actually better ourselves and put ourselves into a position where we understand our finances. And if we understand our finances, we can then look at how we can become financially free.
Okay. Vuyo, before you answer the same question, maybe let me just change it a bit. we have the mindset. Some people don't even realize they actually have these mindsets holding them back. So how can
Mm.
one actually find out what mindsets do I have without me being aware that I actually have this mindset holding me back?
Well, that's a great question, Fezile. So in money coaching, we use a personality type tool or framework for helping people understand their own money personality type or the way that they relate to money. And so their relationship with money encompasses the beliefs, the emotional experiences that they carry from their past, traumas that they've had relating to money, how they interacted with other people, especially their parents, around money. So it's a sum total of all those experiences from childhood, and some of them even in our adult years, and then they manifest into personality or certain behavior or tendency towards money. And so when we do the personality type, more often than not, people just kind of fit into whenever we do the assessment, we find that whatever personality seems to be dominating or more active is one that they resonate with.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's a really helpful tool.
Mm. Still on, the mindsets. I know coming from an African family, we sometimes, when we start working, we have to go 10 steps back because of black tax. So is black tax even a thing or is part of our mindsets? Any of you can answer the question.
I will say that it is a thing, but it is a thing that can be amplified by your mindset or by your personality type. I'll make the example. Most of the women that I work with are martyrs. The martyr personality type being the personality type that is self-sacrificing. Why? Because they learned early on, because of our upbringing, there were struggles. Maybe there were a lot of us siblings, and our parents were not able to take care of all of us adequately.
Mhm.
So our needs were not adequately met. So we learned early on that, if I want something, I need to make it happen for myself. But also the underlying belief is my needs are not important.
Okay.
So then, if you come from if you have that belief, my needs are not important, then you grow up or you find yourself in a setup where you are expected to take care or support financially extended family.
Hmm.
You self sacrifice, you go above and beyond. You go to the extent of going into debt for your family. Why? Because you believe your needs are not important, and also because you want to be needed
Hmm. Hmm.
and loved and appreciated by your family for what you do for them financially. So yeah.
I think we've just started the conversation and I've just discovered my. Thank you, Will. Anyway, now building to the conversation around strategies and tools that we can use. So here's a young person, well, young woman who re really is keen in learning. So they're at the starting point. They've just started working. They want to know where can I start, what tools can I start implementing currently to start building my financial freedom. Karen?
So, this is a person who's just started working. Like, this is a woman, a young woman. For me, I'll just use myself as an example. I didn't know anything about investing or savings when I started working. I knew that I wanted to have money, and I knew that at some point I wanted to have something that would not require me to physically be in work. So I was always looking at what is possible, what is available. And that's what led me into property. So I would say that what you can do is start looking around to see what sort of investment, networking events are available for women, and going to attend these will allow you to start building a community of people with the same mindset as yourself, because you're then able to support each other in that on this journey. And for me, that I found that to be exceptionally useful. And also because you're around people who are thinking similarly to yourself, you guys will be able to share the different things that you're coming across. So, for example, in property, um, you know, like I said earlier, one of my these ladies that I've met, she was telling me she's not good at numbers. That's something that I know I'm good at. So we were able to team up. I could help her, with her numbers until she was a bit more confident. And that's something that you just get with the community. So for me, I think having that support network is one of the best tools that you could have at your disposal. And also using the internet. These days, we're so blessed. You can go and Google things and find out information about financial literacy, financial independence, and join groups, because you don't physically have to go to the networking events. You can do it online. You can meet people online that think or want the same things as you. And they don't necessarily have to be in the same country as you. So, the opportunities that are available because of technology allow us as women to be able to help each other no matter where we are. So, yeah, that's what I would say is quite important. Community, having that community as a tool, a massive tool in your toolbox.
Okay. Right. We are building on to that very same question, the hypothetical question of this young lady who's just started working, perhaps it's a 9 to 5 job. They wanted to find their financial freedom. But I think you will agree with me when I say that financial freedom differs because we all have different backgrounds. We're starting at different points in our lives. So how can one in that, pursuit of financial freedom define personalized financial freedom for themselves while they are, reaching out to these tools, to these communities like Karen has talked about? How can I define financial freedom that is unique for my experience where I'm starting?
Oh,
Oh,
okay, she's back.
okay.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I am terrible.
It's okay.
I'm just gonna, what did you hear the question though? No?
You were about to ask the question.
Okay, right. Let me just go back. I think I was on that note on this young person, young woman, Black woman, starting work,
Mhm.
perhaps it's a 9 to 5 role, and they wanted to find their
Mm.
what financial freedom means for them, because obviously we are starting from, different points. Our backgrounds are different. So financial freedom for me will be different for somebody else. How can I start personalizing that financial freedom, that journey for myself, but at the same time making sure that I'm making use of these tools that are available and the communities Karen has been talking about?
Yeah, wow, what an interesting question. Defining financial freedom for yourself. I think it requires you to reflect. It requires you to reflect because you know what? The other thing about financial freedom, another aspect of it is that I can have all the money in the world, but not feel free,
Yeah.
but still feel so insecure around money, but still feel like it's not enough.
Mm.
But have that insatiable need for things or whatever things, material things, accomplishments. And even when you do get them, it's not enough. You never really feel content. So for me, financial freedom starts with, if I want to put it and say, it starts with being secure without money.
Okay.
Starting from a point where I have let go of my fears and insecurities around money. I've let go of this thing of defining my worth and my sense of well-being with having money. Or I've stopped associating, because from that point on, it doesn't matter how much I have. I will feel free. I will feel free. So yeah, so I think it's very important. And when I work with some of my clients, especially clients who are really having trouble, difficulties in their relationship with money, it's always let's get you to a point where you're no longer driven by fear. You're no longer driven by a scarcity mindset. You're no longer driven by insecurities and wanting to attach your worth to having money, because from that point on, you can create money and you can relate to money without having any attachments to it. So I don't know if, I mean, I went off on a tangent, but yeah. And it all comes down to what are your values? What are the things that are really important to you?
Okay.
The things that really matter when all is said and done. And I like to encourage my clients to look at it from the perspective of you're in your deathbed and you're looking back on your life. What will matter? What do you want to have accomplished? What do you want to have experienced? Because then everything that you're doing with your money is supposed to be helping you create that picture in the now. So looking at those things, your values, as helping you define what financial freedom means to you.
Yeah, I think I totally resonate with what you just shared now. When you read the book, if you've read the book Psychology of Money, it really unpacks some of the barriers. Actually, this morning I was listening to Lamide. In her podcast, she's talking about the same issues that so the guest she had in the podcast was saying that some of the issues that we have around money stem from the fact that we never go to therapy for some issues in our lives. There's a positive correlation between the issues we experience and the way we handle money. It might not be a money related issue at all, but the way we have a relationship with our finances is impacted by, everything that we experience in our lives. So she says that she tells people, if you have issues in your life that you haven't sorted, go to therapy, and then you'll understand how to handle your money and be financially free. So let's come to some of the ways of, we can use to grow money, particularly around property investment, as a strategy for building long-term wealth, Karen. So somebody who's starting looking into this aspect, this potential strategy of growing their wealth, what can they do? Starting point, where do you start when it comes to investing? Do I have to have a certain amount of money to be able to invest? Okay,
Okay.
let's use the context of the UK because you're in the UK, and then we just generalize from
Okay.
there.
All right. So, for myself, I always say if you're gonna start investing or start any sort of or anything really, you need to learn, isn't it? I think the first thing is to get yourself educated so that you know what's available to you. So for example, in property, there's so many different strategies that you can get started with in the UK. There's rent to rent, sourcing, rent to service accommodation, buy to lets, HMOs, you name it, there is a strategy for it. So I think it's good for you to get educated in terms of what would work for you, and then from there you then look into mastering that one area and focusing on that, because you can get shiny penny syndrome When you start with the rent to rent, and then you hear about, oh, how somebody's doing so well in sourcing, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna change and go into sourcing, and then you're like, oh, no, 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 you're in sourcing, and now you start learning, and then you think, oh, no, no, I've heard buy-to-lets are the ones, let me go into buy-to-let. So I think having the awareness that, okay, you've chosen a path and sticking with it, because all of them can make you successful in property. You just have to stick with one long enough to make it work. So I think the first thing to do is to get that education and get started. And when you're getting that education, you just need to get a little bit to start. You don't have to know everything, because that's the other thing that will stop you from moving forward. You'll think, oh, I need to get more. I need to get more education. Get a little bit, get enough that will get you going, then start and learn from there. And I say that because for myself, I've known about property. I've known I wanted to do property for a long time. And it's something that I only started in the last 2 years, actually doing, because I thought I needed to know everything. I thought I needed to have a certain amount of money in my bank account. But after I got educated for the strategy that I'm using, I realized I could start with no money. And so like Vuyo was saying, you need to look at your values, and you need to look at how you can work from your um from your point of view, like what works for you. You need to go from there. So I found buy-to-lets to be the ones that worked for me, because they are low risk entry. And also, it's not, for me, it wasn't just about building wealth for myself, it was also about helping others do the same. So that's why it worked for me. But each person starts from a different point of view. You need to know yourself, and then you go from there. You get the education, and then you start, and then you keep getting educated, because it's all, there's a lot to learn. There's always more to learn, not only in the reading, but in the acting, and the making the mistakes, and then and then learning from your mistakes to move forward. So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Oh, that's really good. I think we spend so much time, I'm guilty of that as well. We spend so much time learning, reading
Yeah.
books, and trying to get as much information, but we are just so scared to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of starting, Vuyo, Karen has mentioned some of the entry points in financial freedom, like, property. What do you think are the possible wealth building tools that are available women that can explore today?
I think just investing in the stock market, that is also one tool, or that is one pathway to building wealth. And it doesn't require a lot. Now there are so many platforms that have made it easy, remove the barriers to entry for us regular people, with not starting from the bottom, not having a lot of wealth to get into the stock market and start investing. So one platform that I always share with my clients is the Easy Equities platform, which is South African. It's based in South Africa, but they allow countries within the Common Monetary Area, which is Swaziland, Lesotho, Namibia, to invest. But they also have the platform is also available in Europe and in Australia, and I think in the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so through that platform, you're able to buy shares on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. You get exposure, or you get access to unit trusts. You get access to exchange traded funds. You get access to individual shares and stocks. You can invest as little as 5 Rand.
Okay.
So there's no minimum requirement of 10,000 Rands, which is always like a barrier. Like, where am I going to get 10,000 Rands from to start with? You can invest as little as 5 Rand. And if you just made a commitment
Yeah.
that you will, for example, you will put away 500 Rand every month towards investing. Over time, that builds up. You get to benefit from the power of compound interest, and your money grows. It's just a passive way to create another stream of income for yourself and build wealth. So maybe in 10 years, you're at a point where you can start drawing from your investments, and they start supporting your lifestyle or other goals that you have. Early retirement, funding a business, etc.
Thank you so much, Vuyo. For anybody who has just joined the conversation, we are talking about financial freedom for women. It's quite an interesting conversation. There's so much I'm learning myself. I hope you are as well. So now I want us to get to the practicality of things, right? Looking at the practical tools, the practical components that lead to financial freedom. Let's start with budgeting. So what tips can you give people around, we'll start with budgeting, we'll go to saving, we'll go to debt management. So let's start with budgeting. What practical tools, I want you to be explicit as possible here, so that people can get as much information as they possibly can from you guys. Let's go with you, Karen.
Okay, so for myself, in terms of budgeting, I have a spreadsheet. So what I do with my spreadsheet is I put in, my income, how much money I'm getting paid, and then I put in my expenses. So there's expenses that I know that are regular, like every single month. These are the ones that always come through. And then there's those expenses that they just come out of nowhere, right? So if I have a spreadsheet that forecasts the whole year, then I have a rough idea of how my money is moving. And I can also account for like those unexpected costs that come up, because when I'm doing my budget, which I try and do at the beginning of the month, I try and see, okay, what is it that is coming up this month that's different from last month that I need to account for, and then put that in so that I'm on budget. And I think it's important to have the spreadsheet, because it just makes things easier, because you just know that if it's not on my budget, this is not for me right now, but I can account for it. Say if it's something that I want, I can then put a plan into place to say, okay, right, this thing is going to cost me £1,000 every single month. I need to be putting £100 aside until I've got enough to buy this thing. And sometimes that also reveals whether or not I really want that thing. Because in the midst of saving, or maybe things change and I'm like, oh, actually, I don't really need that. I can get something else instead, which is better. So that also helps in that aspect. So I'd say sorry, one sec. So I'd say for me, the spreadsheet is the thing. I don't have any other tool I can recommend. That is it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Vuyo, before you answer the same question, as a certified money coach, I want you to maybe highlight perhaps somebody who might consider getting themselves a money coach when they want to start learning how to budget. Would you really encourage somebody to start there?
Yes. Yes, I think it is always a good idea. You know what? We invest in upskilling ourselves for our careers, right? We invest in upskilling ourselves for certain I don't know, paths that we want to go into. So investing in upskilling ourselves for money, for our finances, is equally important. It always helps when you can have someone who works with numbers, or who works with financial management, to help you look at your numbers, to help you see what you're not seeing, to help you plan and show you how you can best manage or optimize the way that you're managing your finances to achieve your goals. So I really do think that it's worth it to work with someone and just have them give you, especially when you're starting out, there is so much information. It's so overwhelming. There's all this jargon, financial jargon. They say something and you just don't know what it means, and you're like, okay. So it just helps to have someone
So
give
just
you perspective. Yeah.
to get out of the way, are you taking clients so that anybody who's listening might reach out to you?
Yes,
Okay.
I am. I
All right.
am.
So I will make sure that I link your contact details below so that people can reach out if they need help with that. Now, let's move on
Yeah.
to the saving bit. I know we talk about having different savings accounts for this and that. Can you try and explore and unpack that with us? How should I go about with my savings? What should I save for exactly? Um, and yeah, Vuyo, let's start with you this time.
Okay. I want to say that your ability to save is going to be affected by your ability to budget and track your expenses. So what you don't know is going to keep running the show if you don't actually take the time. Like if what you don't control is going to control you, if that's another way of putting it. So if you don't intentionally sit down and budget and decide how much you're going to allocate to savings,
Mm-hmm.
then you could be missing out on the opportunity to be saving more, or you may not even save at all. So yes, sorry, I lost track. What was your question again?
Question was the saving accounts or strategies. What exactly should one save for? Emergency
Yes.
accounts, what
Yeah.
accounts are there that you can explore as savings accounts?
So first of all, the first thing you want to save for is for emergencies. That is your risk management. That is what gives you a strong financial foundation, because life is such that we always find ourselves experiencing things that we didn't expect. I drove into a pothole and I bust my tire and I need a new tire. Um, or there was a windstorm and it blew off a part of my roof, or my geyser broke, or something happened with my child that I hadn't anticipated or planned for. And I find that I don't have enough money in my budget to handle it at that time. So having emergency savings, when something like that unexpected happens, I go to my emergency savings instead of going to borrow money, whether from family or from the bank or from
Mm-hmm.
some other credit provider, high risk credit provider.
How much
So
should
yeah,
one have in their emergency account in terms of percentage, really?
yeah. Well, we as financial people recommend that you have actually not even 3 to 6 months of your living expenses.
Okay.
So to calculate this, think about if you didn't have a job, what are the things that you would still need to take care of? Like you'd still need food. You'd need a roof over your head. You'd need electricity, water. Um, those are just some examples. Maybe Wi-Fi. Yes, so those things that are needs that you cannot live without. If you can just get the number, what does it total every month? And then multiply that number by 3 to get 3 months of your living expenses, or by 6 to get 6 months. So how you decide that is if you are a family of two incomes, you can have 3 months living expenses, because if something happens to one person's income, there's another income to fall back on. But if you're alone, single income family, then it matters to have a bigger savings fund. So 6 months, that's the recommendation. But I know it's overwhelming. 3 months.
It
It's like, but
is.
start where you can.
Yeah.
Start where you can. If you can do 1 month, do 1 month. Start with a baby emergency fund.
Okay, let's come to you, Karen. I just want us to explore maybe looking at short-term and long-term goals. How can one go about saving their money for those things? Looking at some of the accounts that have higher interest rates, maybe. Which ones are best for long-term and which ones are best for short-term?
So in terms of savings accounts in the UK, um, this is something that I'm also in the process of learning. So I know that the cash ISAs are very good in you can put your money in there and you can take your money out when you need it, but you're still benefiting from getting an interest rate, which is better than keeping your money in your current account, because if you leave your money in your current account, you're literally losing to inflation. So I would always say, you're better off going with a cash ISA rather than just leaving it um in your current account.
Hmm.
In terms of high interest accounts, there's some accounts that you can put your money in and they say you can't touch it for 5 years because you're getting a fixed return on there. So those are for you to put money in, which that you're happy to not be able to touch it for a long time. And I guess that's like Vio was saying, that's where you'll be able to benefit from the compounding, because each year they'll add on top of your what you've put in. So for example, if you started with 1,000 and say you're getting an interest rate of 10%, um, at the end of the year, first year, you've got 1,100. So then it's now 10% of 1,100. And then the next year it's 1,000, 200 or whatever the number is. So you're benefiting from that compounding. Um, and so, it just depends on what it is. Do you have, savings already that you just want to put away, and then you've got that money in your cash ISA that you can access as and when you want to do that. Um, but also speaking from a property investing side, there's ways that you can use your income to save for, say, for example, you're saving for a house or whatever, you can get involved in property, and also use that as a vehicle to saving.
Okay. Right. Still on that note, I'm just imagining somebody who's literally starting their financial journey. So, can you explain to us in layman's term what how compound interest work so that people can actually zoom into that and take advantage of, investing money that compounds over time?
Okay. So in terms of compounding, so what it means is you start with one, and that one multiplies
Hmm.
into two. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible. So there's this story, if you've ever read the book, the I think it's The Slight Edge, but it talks about a penny doubling every day,
Okay.
right? So there's two brothers. The father leaves them or he gets ill, and he says to them, like, over the next 30 days, one brother, he says to both of them, you can either get 1 million right now, or you can get a penny that doubles for the next 30 days. So for one brother, he decides to take the 1 million today, and then the other one decides to take the penny that doubles. And the dad gives him a book to read. That book happens to be, I think, the something about the Babylon. I've forgotten the name of the book, but when I remember, I'll put it in the comments or something. So
Man
the
in
brother
Babylon
was,
is that
sorry,
the richest man in Babylon.
that is the one.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah.
So the brother with the £1 million, he then starts, he gets like these financial gurus to come in and advise him on what to do with his money, and he's set, he's ready to go.
Hmm.
And then the other brother, the one with the penny, he starts reading this book by his dad. I think the first story is they talk about these hyacinths that multiply over a month. It starts with one, and then before you know it, it covers all the water by the end of the month. And he keeps reading these stories. He gets to day 5, and the other brother, the one with the million, comes to him and he says to him, what's going on? Why didn't you get the million? He goes, well, this was my choice. And the brother's thinking, oh, you were very stupid. How could you go for a penny? At this point, that penny has doubled from 1 to 2 on the next day. And then on the next day, it's 2 times 4, 2, which is 4, and then so on. But when we get to I think we get to day 29 or something, and it's potentially like 200,000 or something. I can't remember exactly what the numbers are, but he ends up at day 30 on 5 million, having started on 1 penny. I think it's 5 million. I'll have to calculate, but it's certainly more than the million that the first brother started with. So you can see how compounding works from that. And the brother that started with 1 million, he's now worse off because he has to pay those financial gurus that he employed, and then he was spending the money on these expensive hotels and things like that. Whereas the brother with the penny, he was just watching his purse grow every single day because he saw that he saw that for him, long-term wealth was more important than to the wealth that he would get today. And that's how compounding works. You start with a little, and if you don't touch it, it keeps growing and it grows and it grows. And before you know it, you've got your wealth because you've been growing it. So I just love that story in terms of compounding.
I think it also goes back to what they normally say about money, that the way you handle your £10 is exactly the way you're going to handle £1,000,000. So it goes back to the mindsets that we're talking about when we started. It doesn't matter how much money you have, really. It's about learning how to use it and your mindsets around that money.
And I think as well, just to add on, what happens is when you start with a little, you learn how to manage it. Whereas if you just have the lot to begin with, it sort of works against you because it's like those people who win lotteries. Most of the time they end up back to where they were or worse off, because it's about the management of money rather than the actual money itself.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that insight. Now, going to the aspect where I know most of us start, obviously, because we start from different starting points. Some of us are starting from negative steps behind because you have to carry on our responsibilities from home and all of that. And you find that, unfortunately, we find ourselves having debts at an early age of our, financial journeys. So how can you help somebody manage their debt? What's the starting point for somebody who's trying to manage their debt and stay out of debt as they try to be financially free, Vuyo?
So for me, it's always looking at what kind of debts the person has, right? And also, how are they doing with their debt? Do they have peace of mind? Are they taking a financial strain? Are they finding that it's hard to get by every month because of the debt that they have? And so with the kind of debt that they have, if it's unsecured debt, like your personal loans, your credit cards, your overdrafts, all of that, I always encourage, let's try and get rid of it as quickly as possible. And one of the reasons why is because the debt it's stopping you, or it's preventing you from building your wealth. So you're paying because we were talking about compound interest, you are either earning compound interest or you're paying it. So if you have debt, you are paying it to the bank. You're paying it to the bank. And if you have debt, you really cannot invest because any returns that you get from your investment are going to be offset by the interest that you're paying for your debt. Most likely, the returns that you get from your investments are lower than the interest that you're paying the bank. So yeah, so getting rid of debt as fast as possible by making extra payments into your debts than the minimum installments. And doing that so you can get rid of debt faster, and that way you can open up room to start growing your money or to start building wealth. And I like to use the debt snowball method where you list all your debts from the smallest one to the largest one, and this is not including your mortgage, because mortgage is different. You have an asset, right? Yes. So excluding your mortgage, you list all your debts from the smallest one to the largest one, from the clothing store credits to your personal loan, and then start making extra payments into the first one until you finish it. And then whatever money you free up, instead of spending that money, redirect it to the next loan and make extra payments into it. And then once that loan is cleared up, whatever money is freed up, redirect it. So it becomes a snowball in that as you do it, as you clear up the debt, you have more money available to pay off your debts.
The next one, that's good. I like
Yeah,
that.
to pay this
Yeah.
one.
You separated debts from credit cards and personal loans with and mortgage. So I do want to believe that there's good debt and bad debt. So is there something like that? And how can one separate the two?
Yes, it is. If you are not, if okay, I like to say, after you have taken the debt, if you are not in a better off position in terms of your income, in terms of your streams of income, that is if you're not in a better off position, that is bad debt. You want to leverage debt to build other streams of income, to build wealth. You want to use it for productive purposes. So there's these debts that we take for pure consumption where you have nothing to show for it afterwards. You took a loan and you went on a trip. You used your credit card and you went on a trip. It hasn't left you better off financially, right? But I can take a loan to invest in property, for example. And I have units and I have people in those units who are paying me rent. I'm in a better off position. And maybe that rental income is able to pay off the debt. So I'm in a better off position. I can take a loan and buy, for example, construction equipment that I rent out. I'm in a better off position because I generate income from that investment. So yeah, that's good debts.
All right.
Good use of debts.
Thank you for that one. Let's come to you, Karen. I wanted to I want to ask a very personal question. As you are investing in your properties, right? Obviously, we've talked about property investment as well, rather borrowing money for property investment as good debt, right? So how can one find a balance in sometimes you can be so ambitious because I mean it's a good thing venturing into property, but we can be so ambitious to a point that the debt that we're carrying now it's heavier than we can actually manage or handle at that particular point in time. How can one balance that? I want to invest, yes. I want to borrow money for this particular to buy this particular property, but at the same time, how can I make sure that it's still something within my means, something I can manage?
So, when it comes to property investing in the UK, um, you you well, what you want to do is again look at the numbers, right? Because if you'll have to look at the debt that you're taking. Say, for example, you decided to take a £10,000 loan, right? You have to look at, okay, if I take this £10,000 loan, how am I going to be able to service this debt per month? And also, is this investment that I'm making going to be able to give me a surplus as well? So for me, for my investment strategy, I work with other people's money. So I work with investors who I give a better return on their money. So in effect, I'm borrowing their money to make my investments. And I just have to make sure that the what I'm paying makes sense with the deal that I have on the table at that time. So this is actually my bread and butter, this part. So it's it's yeah, it's about making sure you know your numbers, especially in property. You make your money when you buy the property. So you want to make sure that you've got that right from the beginning, because otherwise you know you might find yourself in the problems that Vuyo was saying, that you're in a worse off position. But the good thing about property is that it is forgiving. You know, if you do buy in a wrong area, there's options. You can sell the property, or depending on what your strategy is, and just having those conversations with the people that you're owing money. So yeah, debt is a big thing in property. In fact, to buy a property, most of us need to get a mortgage, and that's a debt. That's a massive debt. But in also buying properties to invest, you're also getting debts. You're getting more buy-to-let mortgages. So that is good debt if you're able to then get rental that is more than the mortgage that you're paying. So, which is why it's important to then be able to buy in the right place where your mortgage will be less than the rent that you'll be getting, so you can make that surplus.
Okay.
I hope I wasn't too technical
Yeah,
in that one,
it was a
but
bit technical, but yeah, that was helpful. Thank you very much. We are running
I
out of
also want
time.
to,
Yeah, go on.
oh,
Go on. It's okay.
I was saying, I also want to add that, also doing your research, like studying the markets, what are people really looking for? Especially if you're going into it as an investment, as an income generator, not that you're buying property for yourself to live in. It's important to also kind of understand what is going on in the market. Is this a good time for me to be doing this? Are people interested in this? Are people interested in buying, or are there more of us trying to sell something in the market? Just looking at those things, because then, especially in the Swaziland context, we're seeing a lot of people having property but not being able to get tenants into their houses, or not being able to sell.
Mhm.
So yeah, so just doing your research before jumping into it.
Okay.
definitely research, education, knowing which areas work, because
Yeah.
like you're saying in Swazi, there's a lot of people with properties but no tenants. You know, in the UK, depending on which area you're looking at, if you buy up north, you're likely to have properties that don't appreciate in value, so it's not a good area to be buying to sell. Whereas if you're down south, that's a very good area to be buying to sell, because the properties go up in value very quickly.
Okay.
And you can also get more for adding value to your properties. So it's definitely about doing that research, knowing your market, knowing which strategy is right for you, because again, it comes down to your values. What are you trying to establish? Yeah, and then going from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been really an amazing conversation, but unfortunately, we have to wrap up now. So, as my last question for you guys, we started with mindsets, right? Unpacking some of the things that are holding us back to be financially free rather. So, the last question I have for you would be, what mindset shift changed your financial life? That's the first thing. And then the second thing would be what resource, could be a book or a podcast you normally listen to, a platform that you use for, your daily expenses of tracking of your expenses, your budgeting. Or it could just be a book that helps you shift your mindset on a daily basis.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay, I'll go first. Sorry, I just jumped in. Um, for me, the mindset shift. So I discovered that I was a person, the type of person who's internally conflicted with money. I had these negative beliefs like, where there's money, there's no love. And having money is evil. Well, wanting money is, it's materialistic. You're greedy. So I didn't want to be associated with that. So I had this internal complex where I was self-sabotaging. If there was an opportunity, career opportunity for me to step into, I wasn't going to step into that because I don't want to have money and be the person that is greedy or materialistic, or if I do have, then love will be absent in my life. So yeah, so that's one. I had to really let go of that and see that it's not true. It's absolutely not true that where there's love, where there's money, there's no love. And I also had to let go of these beliefs about money being evil and being a problem. Money is just money.
Yeah.
It's money. It depends on whose hands it's in. And then a resource, the book that really got me learning about my internal beliefs is called Money Magic by Deborah Price, who is also the founder of the money coaching school that I got my certification from. And that really opened me up and really got me thinking about my relationship with money and starting to question some of the beliefs that I have.
Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much. What about you, Karen?
So for me, a limiting belief that I had around money is that I always believed that you need to have money to make money, and that is not true. You don't need to have money to make money. You just need to be resourceful, and I think for me, what worked was hearing other people stories on how they've been able to make money with no money, being able to have a purse that never empties. That's one of the richest men in Babylon. I love that book. And it's it's changed my life. The fact that if I know this, I can tell other people that, look, you don't need to have money to make money. But again, it takes time. It's a mindset. It's something that you grow up thinking, we always hear that saying, money doesn't grow on trees. There's a lot of things around money, like Vuyo was saying, you sort of think having money is terrible. It's not a good thing. There's no love where where there's money, and you're thinking to yourself, do I really want to have money or not? And I one of my things was being successful. It's what would it change me as a person? Do you know what I mean? Like, once I have money, do I become a person who is um horrible to other people and things like that? But money is a tool. It reveals who you are. If you were a nice person without money, when you have money, you'll be an even nicer person. You'll be a person who gives more because you were doing it when you didn't have anything to begin with. So, um, for me, it literally, it's just a matter of being with the people or being around people who think similarly to you, and you're seeing what other people like. Because I hang around a lot of property investors. One guy was telling me he's bought a property. Basically, the income that comes from that, he uses it to support his charity in India. How amazing is that? How amazing is that? Buying property with the intention of, he's gotten to the point where he's financially free, he's comfortable, he's using property as a vehicle to support his charity. That's beautiful. And so when I heard stories like that, I thought, oh my God, what a great thing it is to have money so you can do nice things like that. You can help support the economy, you can help support your charities, you can help support your family. It just opens up a lot more doors for you to be able to, if you manage your money well, you can do so much more, not only for yourself, but for your family, building that generational wealth. It's yeah, I love money. I love money now. And the book I would always say to everybody to read is that The Richest Man in Babylon.
Mhm.
And there's another one. I think what I'll do is when you upload it on YouTube is I'll put it up there. But I think it's by this guy called DiMartini. I'm terrible at remembering the books, but it's yeah, oh, I can't remember the name of it, but when I remember, I'll put it on the YouTube so everybody can check that book out. And it's so good because it does tackle a lot of the mindsets around money. Or I'll look it up right now
Okay, it's all
while
right.
while we're closing up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing so much knowledge around finances and how we can actually grow as women trying to navigate this whole aspect of money and growing. Thank you so much. If there's any questions on the chats, let me just check now. All right, we don't have any questions here.
I added another book
Oh yes, thank you.
for,
We should share that
for
as well.
creating, yeah, for creating income, Think and Grow Rich, or for creating money.
Yes,
It's a
that's a
really,
good
really good
book.
one because we are limited only by our minds to how much money we can have. So that's a really good book.
I think this mindset thingy concept needs like another episode of its own, honestly, because there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lots of emotional barriers that we carry as women as well. Some people suffer from this buying impulsively because of their emotions. When they're feeling sad, they just feel like they can go shopping. There's just a lot to unpack there. And
Mhm.
Karen, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I found the book. It's
Okay.
called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by
Okay.
T. Harv Eker.
Can you
That
put on the
book
chat, please?
is amazing. Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Right, as she's doing that, I just want to wrap up the session, guys. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us today. It was an amazing conversation. We're going to have another one, hopefully, in the near future. We will have our third session of the Inhale Element series next on the 25th, rather. We'll be looking at physical activity. We're talking about mental health, overall wellness for women generally. So we are having conversations for women by women so that we can grow and become the best versions of ourselves in all aspects. Hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much. Karen has shared the name of the book on the chat. If you're still here, just check it out quickly before we close this live. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This was great.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.